as much as you all have learned from me, I like to think that I've also learned a lot from each and every one of you. Again, part of the process of being a historian in a society like ours is understanding that history only really matters if folks, whether they're inside or outside the academic world, whether they're inside or outside of the school building, are actually able to learn, to cherish, to take something away from the profession of history. And it's moments like this that truly remind me of why I decided to do what I do. When I was a small boy, about 5 years old, my father sat me down back in the good old days of 1991. I'm just saying. And sat me down to watch the film Glory, which is, of course, about the 54th Massachusetts Regiment, which, of course, fought the Battle of Fort Wagner right here in South Carolina. Now, my father knew I had a deep and abiding love of history, even at a young age. But watching that film with my father was a turning point for me, because it not only brought history alive, but it also made it clear that history was relevant. History was part of my life. History was in my blood. And ever since then, I've held on to that belief, that deep, abiding belief that history does indeed matter. Even if some folks think that it's bad for you, or that learning something critical of the nation's past is the worst thing in the universe, or that they talk about critical race theory and don't quite know what they're talking about, but I digress. Nonetheless, it's these kinds of moments that, again, remind all of us why history matters and why we should all get together and be thankful that we have spaces like this one. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Before he comes up, I just want to tell one quick story about Dr. Gallman. Now, he and I actually first met in the Modjeska School last year, back in 2020. Quite literally the week that the lockdown took place. As in, our first Modjeska class was that Sunday. It was a meet and greet, we talked about the class. It was actually over in our headquarters, Progressive Network. And it was a pretty good event, but I think everyone in the room that particular day had this sense of foreboding, because the virus had just arrived in the US, it was spreading rapidly, and there was uncertainty about when we'd see each other again in person. Well, a year and a half later, I'm happy to see Dr. Gallman once again in person. So Dr. Bernie Gallman, please come on up.
As Dr. Green mentioned, this is my second year taking the course. I plan to take it again because I really enjoy breaking the law of learning critical race theory. And I think that this is a place where we need to make each other uncomfortable, because we've been comfortable for too long.
When I came to South Carolina from New York, I didn't know what to expect, but I wanted to be with family. Having been here for less than a year, let me tell you, this is a dynamic place. You don't know the power that you have, but we have to do some work to get it to the place where it can be the most powerful state in the country. You have such energy here, but we use it to tamp down all the things we don't want other people to know. But I'm here to say that I'm going to start. I don't know how long I can keep it up, but I'm going to start opening up the boxes, taking out what's in it, let everybody see, and then you decide what you want to do about it. Prepare yourself to deal with what comes out of those boxes whenever it does. So I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be part of this organization, and this man is fantastic.
bigger version of this coming. I know he's a fan of Miles and the crew, so this will be blowing up and all that. It's 4th of July weekend, so order this little quantum. Connie Green, A Love Supreme. Shout out to my doctor, Professor.
And I think going back to some of the comments a few students have made this afternoon about why the class matters to them so much, in particular why learning about Reconstruction matters so much, I want you to hear how the Sims textbook portrayed Reconstruction. Right? This is what students, black and white, learned across the state generations ago about Reconstruction. As the year 1870 drew to a close, conditions in South Carolina became more and more terrible. Crimes among the Negroes, murder, burglary, and house burning were frequent. The Negro militia grew more insolent each day, encouraged as they were by the carpetbag government, with United States troops at its back. This dreadful condition of affairs forced the white people of the state to organize secretly for their own protection. They formed small bands called Ku Klux Klans, whose purpose was to frighten the Negroes from their evil doing. The Ku Klux met only at night. They dressed in long white robes and caps. They were always mounted, and the very sight of these ghostly riders galloping by in the night was usually enough to terrify the superstitious Negroes. Many of the best men in South Carolina belonged to the Ku Klux Klan. Now, this is what folks used to learn about when it came to Reconstruction in the state generations ago. Really not that long ago. And the Modjeska Simkins School is here to try to set the record straight as much as we possibly can. Because, yeah, I think you can kind of tell that's not quite how it happened. But nonetheless, this reminds all of us of the kind of work that we do. I tell my students in Claflin this every single day they walk in the classroom, and I'm going to tell you guys the same thing right now. Each and every one of you in this room is a historian. Each and every one of you in this room is a storyteller. But most importantly, each and every one of you is an agent of change. An agent of change in a state that needs as many of them as we can possibly get. Now, we've got a lot of work to do, as several folks have already said this afternoon. And goodness knows that work's going to take a long time to get done. But I take solace in the fact that the folks in this room are the folks I'm going to battle with and fighting with to make this state the best damn state it can be.
All right.